Welcome to NTD News.
Good morning. Here are today's top stories. Just this morning, President Biden announced that he's taking 37 of the 40 inmates off federal death row to instead serve out life sentences behind bars.
A U.S. fighter jet was shot down near Yemen in an apparent friendly fire. An investigation is underway.
Honda and Nissan are in talks of a potential merger that would create the third largest automotive company in the world in sales.
And Christmas week has started. We take a look at how people around the world are celebrating this holiday season.
Controlling your anger can be a tough situation. An anger management specialist joins us in studio to talk about what works the best so that those affected can be at peace this Christmas.
This is NTD Good Morning, live from our global headquarters in New York City. Here are Evelyn Lee and Kevin Hogan.
And good morning. Welcome.
Welcome. Today is Monday, December 23rd. Topping this morning's news, just in, President Biden reduced the sentences of 37 out of 40 inmates who are on federal death row. He converted their punishments to life imprisonment. It spares the lives of inmates convicted of killings. Those killings include the slayings of police and military officers and those involved in deadly bank robberies or drug deals.
The three people who were not on Biden's commutation list are the surviving Boston Marathon bomber, convicted murderer in the Tree of Life synagogue shooting, and the gunman at Mother Emanuel Church in Charleston.
The White House said the 37 inmates will have their sentences reclassified. Biden said in a statement, quote, "Make no mistake, I condemn these murderers, grieve for the victims of their despicable acts, and ache for all the families who have suffered unimaginable and irreparable loss." But he said he is convinced more than ever that the use of the death penalty at the federal level must be stopped. And in other news, United Healthcare CEO shooting suspect Luigi Mangione is expected to be arraigned on state charges in New York today.
He is accused of gunning down Brian Thompson in Manhattan outside of a hotel on December 4th.
He faces 11 state charges, including first-degree murder as an act of terrorism.
The hearing today marks Mangione's first opportunity to formally address the accusations brought by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office.
He also faces a federal murder charge, which carries the maximum potential sentence of death or life in prison.
Meanwhile, police arrested a man they say set a woman on fire while she appeared to be sleeping on a New York City subway train yesterday morning, killing her.
It was just before 7:30 this morning when our person of interest and the victim were both riding an F train to the end of the line at Stillwell Avenue in Brooklyn. As the train pulled into the station, the suspect calmly walked up to the victim, who was in a seated position at the end of a subway car. The suspect used what we believe to be a lighter to ignite the victim's clothing, which became fully engulfed in a matter of seconds. Officers who were on patrol on an upper level of that station smelled and saw smoke and went to investigate. What they saw was a person standing inside the train car, fully engulfed in flames. With the help of an MTA employee and a fire extinguisher, the flames were put out. Unfortunately, it was too late, and the victim was pronounced on the scene.
Police arrested a suspect who has not been publicly identified. 3 high school students called 911 saying they recognized him from the photos released by the NYPD. Police are still investigating the victim's identity and the reason for the attack. Authorities in Texas
say a pickup truck driver fleeing police crashed through the doors of a JCPenney store. 5 people were injured before law enforcement officers fatally shot the driver. A dashcam video caught the end of a 19-mile police chase right before the suspect drove into the busy mall. Police at the mall traded gunfire with the suspect, whose identity was not immediately released. Witnesses say they heard multiple gunshots and saw people fleeing through the mall. The victims are being treated at local hospitals, and their conditions are not immediately known. Over in Germany, a judge has ordered the man accused of driving a car into a Christmas market to be held in detention.
It comes as we are learning new details about the suspect who killed at least 5 people and injured over 200 more. Here's the story.
Well, the German authorities have now acknowledged they did indeed receive a warning from Saudi Arabia about this individual that is now being held as the suspect in this Christmas market car ramming. That individual has been named as Taleb Al-Abdul Mohsin, a 50-year-old man, a doctor, psychiatrist who was originally from Saudi Arabia. He describes himself as an Islamophobe and has often posted on social media, very aggressive messages against Islam. Meanwhile, that suspect has made his first appearance in a German court, with the judge there placing him in pre-trial detention as this intensive investigation continues.
The military said 2 U.S. Navy pilots were shot down over the Red Sea in an apparent friendly fire incident yesterday.
The pilots were recovered and one of the crew members sustained minor injuries. A full investigation is underway. CENTCOM stressed the incident was not the result of hostile fire. NTD's Jason Perry has more updates on the Middle East.
In a video released this weekend, U.S. fighter jets were seen taking off into the night. On Saturday, the U.S. Central Command, or CENTCOM, reported conducting precision airstrikes in Yemen on targets linked to the Houthi terrorist group. CENTCOM also reported shooting down multiple Houthi one-way attack drones and an anti-ship cruise missile over the Red Sea. A U.S. fighter jet was also shot down in the Red Sea. The U.S. military said it had mistakenly shot down one of its own fighter aircraft early on Sunday, forcing both pilots to eject. Both were rescued, with one having minor injuries, and CENTCOM said the incident is being investigated. But the Houthis also put out a statement on Sunday saying that they had shot down the U.S. fighter jet and thwarted an attack by the United States and the United Kingdom. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said this on Sunday about the Houthi threat.
As we acted forcefully against the terror arms of Iran's evil axis, so we will act against the Houthis. Only in this case, we are not acting alone. The U.S. and other countries see the Houthis as a threat, not only to international shipping, but to the international order.
The Houthis have launched repeated attacks on international shipping vessels near Yemen for over a year now, in what they say is support for the Palestinians over Israel's war against Hamas in the Gaza Strip. Jason Perry, NTD News.
And at the same time, negotiators say that Israel and Hamas are getting close to a ceasefire deal once again. Let's hear more about the Middle East now. We bring in Avi Melamed to discuss this. He's a former Israeli intelligence official and former senior official on Arab affairs. Good morning. Good to see you again, Avi. So first, let's start with the ceasefire deal. A lot of talk about that again, with quite some confidence this time as well. And it does feel like, though, that we've been here before. Tell me a little bit more of what's the difference this time in the confidence.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Well, as you said, it feels like we've been to this place before, but however, there is some difference. I would say that the major differences that we can point out at this point actually has to do not necessarily with the negotiations per se, but what happened around in the region, and particularly I'm talking about what happened in Syria, the downfall of Assad, that actually escalates the whole disintegration of the Iranian-backed axis of resistance as we know it. As long as Hamas was under the impression that this axis is still functioning and actually could be used by Hamas as yet another card in the negotiation process, Hamas was kind of like digging heels into the ground. It seems like now that there is a recalculation within Hamas following those developments. And that's, I would say, the major reason in my reading for the difference between this phase and previous phases that has been in a way similar, but still there is a difference.
So with those recalculation, as you just mentioned, do you think that both sides are more open to a deal at this point? It also, and to your point, it seems also like Hamas is willing to make some concessions and perhaps actually let Israel have military presence in Gaza, right? But do you think that is a both-sided, a greater willingness to come to a deal?
It seems like that at this point. I would say that also from an Israeli perspective, and particularly to be more accurate from the Israeli Prime Minister perspective, as well as the cabinet in Israel, there is a growing understanding that there must be some progress in that issue. The Israeli public opinion is enormously upset with the whole process of the negotiations. Prime Minister Netanyahu, who's now facing the trial, and actually we are now looking at what seems to be like the final phase in this very long saga of its trial. It seems to me like the Prime Minister Netanyahu also, in a way, kind of like would like to bring some sort of, or to show some sort of progress, even though his opponents actually argue that he has no real intention to end this war, meaning to do a done in one deal to bring all the hostages back, which seems to be like the case. But I think that in comparison to different phases, we talked earlier about Hamas, I think that also from an Israeli perspective, there is today some sort of like more willingness, I would say, within the policy and the decision makers in Israel to move forward to some sort of like a deal, even though if it's going to be apparently a stage down deal, so to speaking, a partial deal, which for itself, of course, is good. But at the same time, we have to remember there are still many people that will be hostages that will still be left back in Gaza Strip, and Israeli public opinion is enormously upset about it.
Right, but it does seem like, based on what you're saying, that's a good thing. So the U.S. was also optimistic that there will actually be a deal by the end of this month. Now that's just a few days away. Can you tell us a bit more of where things stand right now?
Well, there was a lot of reports coming in, and I don't know necessarily to say that those reports are accurately reflecting the real picture on the ground. I think that those reports are, in the best case scenario, are very partial. I think there is a lot of misinformation, and even I would say in some cases disinformation. But to the best of our understanding, what is now on the table is some sort of like a multi-phase process or arrangement or a deal in which, to the best of my understanding, in the first phase of this multi-phase process, they are going to release hostages, Israeli hostages, female, and those who are defined as a humanitarian condition. I know the most recent thing that came just this morning was that there is some sort of like a debate vis-a-vis the definition of humanitarian case, but it seems to be like, roughly speaking, that is the trajectory of the deal ahead. One of the major issues is that when you hear the subtext of statements by Israeli politicians or those who are part of the government, they allude or indicate or suggest or hint that the second phase of the deal is going to be very difficult, as they say, in terms of the prices that Israel is paying. But this is not new. We all understand that there is a very significant fee price involved in this whole process. The Israeli public opinion, I would say, roughly speaking, understand that and is willing to pay the price, because the bottom line, as far as Israeli public opinion is concerned, is to bring all the hostages back home as soon as possible.
Right. So since we have a couple of seconds left, there is so much happening in the region. Let me talk about what happened after Syria's regime collapsed, because analysts have been also saying that there is a power shift now in the region that benefits Turkey and Israel. Could you just quickly touch on that and tell us what you see and if you agree?
Yes, the major winner out of the story of the downfall of Assad regime is Turkey, and Turkey is now expected to further expand its influence across the region. And Turkey already is present in the northern part of Syria. It also, by the way, present in the northern part of Iraq. And so it's expected that Turkey will use this opportunity to extend its influence. The fact that there are now Islamic affiliated forces that rules Syria is also playing to the hand of Turkey. Erdogan is coming from the same hub, the Sunni Islam political camp. And obviously, as far as Erdogan is concerned, he got now strong allies in Syria. We have to remember, Turkey was, to a large extent, the force beyond the offensive of the rebels in Syria that resulted in the downfall of Assad regime. One of the things that we know about Erdogan is that he's a very provocative leader. And it seems to be like that we should expect sometime down the road that Erdogan, similar in the way that he was monetizing the story of Gaza Strip to poke Israel, so to speaking, I will not be surprised if we start doing something similar in the context of the Israeli presence in the Golan Heights. By the way, also Arab states like Jordan, the Gulf monarchies, and Egypt are concerned because they know very well Erdogan's policy and his provocations. They are concerned that the backwind that the Sunni-affiliated factors in Syria are gaining, and as well as Erdogan, will kind of like negatively impact on their inner arena. So we should definitely look very closely to see how Erdogan and Turkey are going to monetize this new situation in Syria.
Thank you so much. Also keep us up to date with that. Avi Melamed, I appreciate your time this morning as always.
Thank you for having me. Have a good day.
Next, Australia's Attorney General Mark Dreyfus said today that he has approved a United States extradition request for former U.S. Marine pilot Daniel Duggan. Duggan, a 55-year-old naturalized Australian citizen, faces charges that include breaking U.S. arms control law by training Chinese military pilots to land on aircraft carriers. He was arrested by Australian federal police in a rural town in New South Wales state in October 2022, shortly after returning from China, where he had lived since 2014. Duggan's lawyers had previously argued in court that there was no evidence the Chinese pilots he trained were military, and he was no longer a U.S. citizen at the time of the alleged offenses.
Coming up, more than hundreds of skiers and snowboarders were left stranded over the weekend after a ski lift cracked in Colorado. We have the details when we come back.
我们师傅讲过，过去武术的身法，你上阵的，你要是身法你保持好了，你就失去了生命。
Are today's mainstream martial arts not traditional martial arts?
现在有些人他学说传统武术，他尤其是西方人，他不懂。为什么我们要举行大赛呢？因为新唐人他就是要提倡传统武术，复兴中华5000年的传统文化。传统武术，真正的传统武术是讲武德的。我相信有一点，就是守住武德，就有人教。
Did you know indoor air quality can be 5 to even 100 times worse than outdoors? Meet the Air Doctor. It's your answer for clean air and the only hospital-grade air purifier equipped with advanced ultra HEPA filters, proven to improve your indoor air quality and overall health. Air Doctor circulates and triple filters the air in your room up to 5 times per hour. Say goodbye to pollen, smoke, mold spores, pet dander, even viruses, because the Ultra HEPA filter removes virtually 100% of dangerous contaminants down to 0.003 microns. That's 100 times smaller filtration than ordinary HEPA purifiers. This would have been in your lungs. Finally, get relief from allergies and asthma and reduce airborne disease.
It's pulling the pollutants out. It's even pulling the toxic chemicals that our cleaning products leave behind.
Call or go to tryair40.com now. Get 40% off our best-selling air purifier.
Call 1-800-876-0163. Call now.
I debate all day. It's what I do. But there are some things that are undebatable, like your mental health. My own mental health. I was in a dark place when my brother passed away in a car accident. I've never been more devastated than the day I lost my mom. I was depressed, miserable, in ways I never imagined. I reached out, and my sisters came, my pastor, my therapist. They helped me get through it. I found that the more I spoke up, the healthier my mind became. The chaos that was in me began to subside. I was more focused, clear. When you love your mind, you can go so much further. That's not up for debate. Find mental health resources at loveyourmindtoday.org.
Welcome back. President-elect Donald Trump spoke at a Turning Point USA event yesterday. This was his first rally address since winning the election back in November.
During his speech, Trump threatened to take back the Panama Canal, accusing Panama of ripping off the U.S. and worried about China's growing influence there. Here's the story.
We will demand that the Panama Canal be returned to the United States of America.
President-elect Donald Trump threatening to take back the Panama Canal, a man-made waterway in South America that the U.S. depends on for transporting goods and military. The U.S. built it in the early 1900s and maintained control of it. But President Jimmy Carter transferred control of it to Panama in 1977 to improve relations with Latin America. Now Trump says Panama is ripping off the United States.
Our Navy and commerce have been treated in a very unfair and injudicious way. The fees being charged by Panama are ridiculous, highly unfair, especially knowing the extraordinary generosity that has been bestowed.
Trump also brought up China.
It was solely for Panama to manage and not for China or any other country to manage. You see what's going on there? China.
China is the canal's second largest user behind the U.S., and it's been expanding its influence there by investing in Panama's mining rights, developing infrastructure, and creating Spanish-language CCP media. A Hong Kong-based firm gained control of 2 out of 5 ports surrounding the canal. In 2017, Panama switched its diplomatic relations from Taiwan to the Chinese Communist Party. A year later, it joined China's Belt and Road Initiative, a CCP plan for growing its influence largely by investing in other countries' infrastructure. U.S. military leaders are concerned about Chinese projects along the canal. That's because Chinese firms are subject to CCP control.
Panama's president yesterday rejected Trump's suggestion that his new administration could try to regain control of the Panama Canal.
A short time after Trump's speech, the Panamanian president released a video declaring that every square meter of the canal belongs to Panama and will continue to belong to his country. He added that Panama respects other nations and demands respect.
Now, former Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz announced a possible run for Senate at a Turning Point USA event in Phoenix.
And this is after he resigned from the House following a nomination for U.S. Attorney General.
And some of you throughout this conference have even given me a few suggestions. My fellow Floridians have asked me to eye the governor's mansion in Tallahassee. Maybe special counsel to go after the insider trading for my former colleagues in Congress. It seems I may not have had enough support in the United States Senate. Maybe I'll just run for Marco Rubio's vacant seat in the United States Senate and join some of those folks.
President-elect Donald Trump announced more nominations to fill his administration this weekend.
The picks include Stephen Feinberg as Deputy Secretary of Defense and Elbridge Colby as the Secretary of Defense for Policy.
Trump says he also plans to nominate Callista Gingrich as his U.S. ambassador to Switzerland. She's the wife of former House Speaker Newt Gingrich.
He also announced that Tillman Fertitta, the owner of the Houston Rockets, will serve as the U.S. ambassador to Italy.
Trump also tapped Stefan Miran as the chair of the Council of Economic Advisors. The CEA advises the president on domestic and international economic policy and prepares the annual economic report of the president. Now, Japanese automakers Honda and Nissan announced today they have started talks towards a potential merger, which would form the world's third largest automaker by sales.
And this marks a historic pivot for Japan's motor industry. It underlines the threat Chinese-made electric vehicles now pose to some of the world's best-known car makers.
Nissan and Honda said they signed a memorandum of understanding today, and that smaller Nissan Alliance member Mitsubishi Motors had also agreed to join the talks on integrating their businesses.
Honda will initially lead the new management, retaining the principles and brands of each company.
The aim is to have a formal merger agreement by June and to complete the deal and list the holding company on the Tokyo Stock Exchange by August 2026.
No dollar value was given, and Honda has said the formal talks are just starting.
Starbucks workers have expanded their strike to 4 more U.S. cities, including New York. The Workers Unite Union announced the strikes over the weekend. The 5-day strike began on Friday and initially closed Starbucks cafes in Los Angeles, Chicago, and Seattle. It has now added locations in New Jersey, New York, Philadelphia, and St. Louis.
Starbucks said the strike has no significant impact on its operations. Only a small handful of U.S. stores have been impacted. The union represents over 10,000 baristas, and it's calling for an immediate increase in the minimum wage of hourly partners by 64% and by 77% over the life of a 3-year contract.
The union is now striking in 10 cities, also including Columbus, Ohio, Denver, and Pittsburgh. During the busy holiday season, that may impact the company's Christmas sales.
Starbucks began negotiations with the union in April. It said this month it had conducted more than 8 bargaining sessions, during which 30 agreements had been reached. And a record number of Americans are expected to travel over Christmas holiday. AAA expects more than 119 million people to travel at least 50 miles from their homes between Saturday and New Year's Day. That could make it the busiest year-end holiday travel season on record. TSA said it expects to screen nearly 40 million people between now and January 2nd. The busiest days are expected to be Friday, December 27th, and Monday, December 30th.
Some minor storms could create challenges for last-minute shoppers and travelers. A series of storms could bring high-elevation snowfall and valley rain through the Rockies and eventually move into the Midwest and Great Lakes as the week of Christmas begins. Cities like Chicago and Detroit could see a chance of rain and snow. There will be a chance of rain and snow for the Northeast as well. And New York is getting a white Christmas a few days early, with some areas in Westchester County seeing around 2 inches of snow. Other areas in the Northeast, like Milton, Massachusetts, got more than 6 inches of snow since Friday. And more than 170 skiers and snowboarders were left stranded over the weekend after a ski lift cracked in Colorado.
The gondola lift at Winter Park Resort automatically stopped when it detected the crack in a structural piece of the lift. Officials are investigating what caused the crack.
And a resort spokesperson said people riding in the gondolas were lowered down by ropes over the course of about 5 hours. No injuries were reported during the rescues.
Yesterday, workers were replacing the section of the lift that cracked. The resort still has 21 other open lifts. And the world's biggest light show is being held in Toronto, Canada, with over 20 million LED lights and a 154-foot tall Christmas tree of lights. We take a peek after the break.
NTD News, the fastest growing independent news source in America, bringing you breaking news from around the world. Expert analysis, investigative reporting, and original award-winning documentaries. We're known for our uncensored China coverage you won't find anywhere else. We cover the stories that affect you and shape our world without the political noise. We report from the heart with you in mind. Watch us right here on NTD News.
Hi friends, Richard Karn here. Now I'm known as the guy who can fix just about anything, but the technology in most appliances requires very special training to fix. My point is, even I know when I've met my match, and that's why my family has Choice Home Warranty. So we won't get stuck with high-priced repairs.
Choice Home Warranty covers over 25 major home systems and appliances. That's your AC, heating, plumbing, kitchen and laundry appliances, and so much more.
Imagine for less than a cup of coffee a day, Choice Home Warranty can help protect you from expensive major system and appliance breakdowns that your homeowner's insurance doesn't cover. But you have to call now before it's too late.
Every homeowner should have Choice Home Warranty. Your homeowner's insurance is not going to cover your appliances.
Washing machine, dryer, refrigerator, air condition. If I had any issues arise, they were able to take care of it immediately.
Now, homeowner's insurance won't protect you when your home's major systems and appliances break down due to normal wear and tear. But Choice Home Warranty will. They can help cover repairs and replacements.
Choice Home Warranty is the best warranty we've ever used. It would save you so much money in the long run.
Hey, I'm not the only one raving about Choice Home Warranty. They were named a Best Home Warranty Company and Best Claim Service by U.S. News 360 Reviews.
Call Choice Home Warranty now and get access to a nationwide network of over 15,000 technicians and the latest appointment setting technology so you'll know when they're on their way.
If I have an issue with an appliance or something around the house, I just call up Choice Home Warranty and I don't have to worry about that.
So, do what this old DIYer did and call Choice Home Warranty now before something breaks down. Tell them I sent you and get your first month free.
Call Choice Home Warranty before it's too late and get protection for your heating, AC, plumbing, kitchen and laundry appliances, and more. Call for your free quote today. Call in the next 5 minutes and get your first month free. 800-360-6782. 800-360-6782.
Kids love it. Parents trust it. Obviously. Explore GJW Plus Kids Series and Gone Campus courses led by expert educators. This is spectacular. Children will learn values like respect, responsibility, and knowledge in language, science, and more. Wow. All while having fun. Perfect. Subscribe today at GJW Plus Kids, where learning meets fun.
Welcome back. Christmas week has started. We are going to take a look at the holiday celebration around the world. It starts with the world's biggest light and sound show that is taking place in Toronto, Canada.
And this is a show for the holidays. It features 20 million LED lights and a tree of lights that's taller than the Statue of Liberty. Let's take a look.
Wow.
Merry Christmas! Illumi is the world's largest scale light installation, offering visitors a nighttime experience featuring thousands of light structures.
This is by far the best light installation we've been to. Yeah. This is like all the different areas. Massive. It's huge. It's got so much to it. I love lights. I love the holidays. This is amazing.
The installation includes displays of snowmen, candy canes, giant dogs, gnomes and dragons, spanning 600,000 square feet and showcasing over 20 million LED lights. The experience is divided into 16 distinct themed areas.
It's very enchanting. You know, we have Antarctica here, we have Aladdin, and you have the dogs, and everything is so different. Each world is a different theme, and I think it's very special. It makes a very unique visit.
Put so much work into it, you can tell, like, just the attention to detail, it's really beautiful.
A towering Christmas tree is a central attraction.
One of the best things about our site is our tree of lights. In fact, it's actually almost twice the size of the tree at Rockefeller Center.
Illumi first launched in Montreal, Quebec in 2019, before expanding to Toronto. Now in its third season in Toronto, the attraction has also opened in a site in Singapore.
Illumi is a brainchild of Normand Latourelle. He is the founder of Cavalia and Illumi Productions. While touring with Cavalia across the world with acrobats and horses, he had the opportunity to visit many Christmas markets, and that was inspiring to him and led him to dream about the different worlds that he would end up creating with Illumi.
Every year, the attraction grows, with new experiences for people to enjoy.
Some of our highlights for the third season include the addition of our Dune Palace and our Cats and Dogs worlds, and we also have our photo with Santa and our infinite pools.
NTD News, Toronto, Canada.
That looks amazing. And what was it, 20 million LED lights or something?
Yeah, it was 20 million LED lights. It must have taken a lot of work to put that up. I mean, as we saw, I mean, it was beautiful, the lights. It
is beautiful. I'd love to go see, but they really went all out. But that's what it is about during Christmas time, right? Family outing, see the lights. So
yeah, it really brings an atmosphere of the holidays, the holiday magic with all the lights. Yeah, without that, you know, sometimes perhaps for some you just feel like something is missing, but you know, with that and the Christmas tree as well, taller than the Statue of Liberty. I mean, it's not a competition, but that's very tall.
But they got the priority right. Tree and lights.
Yeah, I would love to go see that one day.
Same. All right, we're going to France now. One of the most beautiful castles in the country transformed into a winter wonderland. The rooms filled with Baroque art welcomed new fairy tale inspired decorations.
We're now going to NTD's international correspondent, David Vivez. He takes us inside the castle, which holds a special place in France's history.
Once upon a time, there was a rich man who dreamed of living in the most beautiful estate in Europe. He called upon the best painter, architect and gardener to build a castle that would be ahead of its time.
Nicolas Fouquet was this witty, intelligent, very ambitious collector, lover of the arts, young man that had a dream to have the most beautiful house ever.
Nicolas Fouquet, the Minister of Finances for Louis XIV, was the one who had the castle built. When the king visited the estate, he was so impressed that he hired the same team who built it to create the Palace of Versailles. Soon after, Fouquet was imprisoned on the king's orders. Some historians suggest this was out of jealousy. Alexandre de Voguet, inheritor of the castle, dedicated his life to preserving its history. He notes that many castles in Europe later drew inspiration from its design and architecture.
This place is very important in terms of architecture and garden design and decorative art as well, because it's the first time that all those art have been considered as a whole, as an ensemble, as we say in French. So what you have here is perfect proportions, harmony and audacity, bold.
In the winter, the castle undergoes a transformation. Thousands of lights illuminate the gardens, Christmas songs echo outdoors, and the interior is reimagined.
Bonjour! Hello, welcome to the castle of Vaux-le-Vicomte. Come with me, you will discover Christmas magic with fairy tales.
For 10 days, the castle closes as designers prepare its grand Christmas decorations. This winter, the theme is inspired by beloved childhood tales.
Each salon will be inspired by one of the tales we heard in our childhood. We will find nutcrackers, Little Red Riding Hood.
The gorgeous ceilings, covered in divine scenes, as well as the sculptures of Fouquet and Louis XIV, will share the space with these fairy tales characters.
It's really like a fairy tale. It's really creative. I came to the castle with my grandchildren who don't live in France, and it's great to let them discover this.
While exploring, visitors can warm themselves by fires fueled by logs cut from the estate's own forest.
For a castle like this, we need 60 logs a day just for the ground floor, for the 6 fireplaces that feed it every day. We're back in the old times with fireplaces, indeed.
De Voguet notes that the idea for the Grand Christmas display was inspired by similar traditions in UK castles. It has become a massive success, with thousands of visitors arriving daily. The Great Christmas display will remain open until January 5th. David Vives, NTD News, Paris.
Wow.
You know, personally speaking, you know, we just saw Baroque art, right? Personally, I'm more of a Renaissance art fan. Not just paintings, but also music as well. That's
really?
Me personally, I prefer Renaissance music over Baroque music, and that goes for paintings as well.
Oh, well, you know what? I can't say, I don't think I am looking that closely, but I think they're kind of, I know Baroque is more out there and more embellished, right? But I personally, I think I can live with both. But what I really felt like was great about this is that since they're trying to preserve history, and they're really going out there to make it also inviting for kids, so no better way to preserve history than let the next generation learn about it as well, right?
Yeah, there's just so much information in these artworks that were preserved from the Baroque era, the Renaissance era, and the Romantic era. You know, there's a lot of information, a lot of things to learn from just looking at these pieces of art.
And not just from an art. We're derailing this, but also from a historical perspective. And anyways, it's a great thing. Now, also moving on, there is a buzz at this year's Spirit of Christmas Fair in London. Honey-infused spirits and gins that change color are set to be top trends to wow guests at British Christmas parties this festive season. NTD's international correspondent Malcolm Hudson brings us this one.
Whiskey, tequila, vodka and rum, all made using the honey of bees from the British countryside county of Wiltshire. These festive drinks and more are set to raise a festive cheer from Christmas party guests.
Beeble, the company behind the honey drinks, has over 100 hives. At the Spirit of Christmas Fair in London, their sales executive George Cummings said their bees feed on wildflower meadows.
We have 130 beehives in Wiltshire, and then we have 8 million bees that live in our beehives, and those are all part of Beeble, and we take the honey from them and infuse it into our spirits.
He has a few suggestions on how to enjoy their innovative products this festive season.
So as it gets a bit colder around Christmas with the whiskey, you can definitely make a hot toddy, and that will keep you warm. And if you're looking for a bit more of festive cheer, then honey margarita would definitely be up your alley. And I'd say maybe if the in-laws are getting a little bit on your nerves, then you can always go for what we call a dark and swarmy.
For those looking to add a theatrical touch to a party this festive season, why not add tonic to a gin that changes colour? When the gin comes into contact with something acidic or alkaline, the magic happens. Lewis Jadwatt, founder of Pink Marmalade Gin, explains.
It's all to do with a magical flower called the butterfly pea flower, native to Southeast Asia and parts of Thailand. And what the pea flower does is it gives our gin pH indicating properties. So there's a little bit of science, a little bit of magic in nature.
Meanwhile, Cecilia Aldusin is hoping shoppers will add some tequila to their baskets this Christmas. She says it's becoming popular in Britain, though not yet quite to the level seen in the United States.
People are getting used to it, are getting to know it. I find the culture still that tequila is something that you use just to get drunk and fast and for young people. But in Mexico we see it as a fine whiskey you would see here.
And if you're interested in something more fruity, the Bramble Drinks Company has an array of handcrafted liqueurs infused with seasonal fruits. Certainly, there's no lack of choice for unique spirits with which to captivate friends and relatives. Malcolm Hudson, NTD News, London.
You know, I'm sure there's a lot of nuance when it comes to wines and alcohol, but, you know, myself, I'm not very much of a drinker, so this is like going right over my head.
Although, if you add a little bit of honey and the sweetness in it, I can see how that could be delicious, making things more delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, this story proves age is just a number. A 90-year-old grandmother lifted a 77-pound bar with ease, beaming with confidence as she waved to the audience.
She is one of the 45 spirited participants taking part in a unique weightlifting competition in Taipei over the weekend. It's designed specifically for seniors aged 70 and above. That's crazy.
I want to tell all the old people to join the workout. You don't need to work extremely hard, but this is to maintain health. Back then, before I started training, I was a hunchback and couldn't stand up. My grandmother was very healthy before encountering a car accident in 2020, but all illness started to appear after that. One day we found out that grandmother's hands and legs were shaking. Then she was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Since the disease is irreversible, we start to look for solutions to slow it down, and exercise has always been beneficial.
After being diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, Chang Chen discovered the benefits of weight training, which helped improve her posture thanks to the encouragement of her granddaughter, who motivated her to start in August 2023. During the 3-round competition on Saturday, Chang Chen lifted 77, 88, and 99 pounds.
The competition organizers said the event aims to help the aging population in Taipei, adding that elderly participants can prevent muscle loss and reduce the risk of falling through regular weight training. The oldest participant at the competition is 92 years old.
Wow. And coming up, controlling your anger can be a tough situation. An anger and management specialist joins us in studio to talk about what works best so that those affected can be at peace this Christmas.
Hi friends, Richard Karn here. Now I'm known as the guy who can fix just about anything, but the technology in most appliances requires very special training to fix. My point is, even I know when I've met my match, and that's why my family has Choice Home Warranty. so we won't get stuck with high-priced repairs.
Choice Home Warranty covers over 25 major home systems and appliances. That's your AC, heating, plumbing, kitchen and laundry appliances, and so much more.
Imagine for less than a cup of coffee a day, Choice Home Warranty can help protect you from expensive major system and appliance breakdowns that your homeowner's insurance doesn't cover. But you have to call now before it's too late.
Every homeowner should have Choice Home Warranty. Your homeowner's insurance is not going to cover your appliances.
Washing machine, dryer, refrigerator, air condition. If I had any issues arise, they were able to take care of it immediately.
Now, homeowner's insurance won't protect you when your home's major systems and appliances break down due to normal wear and tear. But Choice Home Warranty will. They can help cover repairs and replacements.
Choice Home Warranty is the best warranty we've ever used. It would save you so much money in the long run.
Hey, I'm not the only one raving about Choice Home Warranty. They were named a Best Home Warranty Company and Best Claim Service by U.S. News 360 Reviews.
Call Choice Home Warranty now and get access to a nationwide network of over 15,000 technicians and the latest appointment setting technology so you'll know when they're on their way.
If I have an issue with an appliance or something around the house, I just call up Choice Home Warranty and I don't have to worry about that.
So, do what this old DIYer did and call Choice Home Warranty now before something breaks down. Tell them I sent you and get your first month free.
Call Choice Home Warranty before it's too late and get protection for your heating, AC, plumbing, kitchen and laundry appliances, and more. Call for your free quote today. Call in the next 5 minutes and get your first month free. 800-360-6782. 800-360-6782.
The Chinese Communist Party is exposing its hand. The fingerprints can be found all over. And I recently caught wind of these CCP operations on full display in South Korea. The top 13 theaters all rejected Shen Yun almost simultaneously. What makes the case in South Korea so different? And how does the CCP extend its influence into other countries? Now, for the Chinese Communist Party, this is warfare. War being waged here isn't being done through tanks and bombs, but instead through the invisible forces of culture and ideology. They also revealed a hidden war.
Welcome back. We have Kelly Gorski with us now to talk about anger management, especially during the holidays.
So Kelly, welcome just in time. You know, for some of us, this is the time where anger management is more important than ever. For some of us, at least. So tell us, are people more angry? What are your clients telling you during the holiday season? What have you been seeing, and how do you manage that?
I think the clients have been feeling angry, anxious, nervous, excited, on edge quite a bit due to feeling the tension and pressure to be able to spend time with their loved ones, but at the same time there are many conflicts in many relationships that they come across.
Right, so you're the author of Anger Management 101. And you wrote that because of your, anger management specialist. So that's your background, and you talk about vulnerability. I think this is something you highlight, right?
I do.
So I'm interested in how those two things connect. Anger and vulnerability. Why is this something you highlighted?
So what I'm truly highlighting is controlled vulnerability. Vulnerability is perceived or misperceived as something that is a weakness, that you're exposed to something that will inevitably make you feel uncomfortable, inadequate, and that is not the case. Controlled vulnerability is when you use I statements to assert yourself in circumstances where you state an opinion without an expectation of what the other person may or may not respond with, knowing that you're taking accountability, knowing that you stand by what you say, and at the same time, you're not using you statements, because you statements typically threaten the other individual and they feel uncomfortable, intimidated, and challenged. So when you use controlled vulnerability, and you're speaking on the I, it is typically more comforting for the other individual not to feel uncomfortable and threatened.
So let me paint you a picture here. You're eating dinner with the family on Christmas, and one of the family members says something that's really hurtful. Maybe it's triggering to you. In that situation, you know, you may feel frustrated. You may feel like you want to respond. What do you do?
So typically I would suggest take a deep breath in through your nose and out your mouth and do not react to the fact that you don't like something that the other person said. It's just an opinion. Keep that in mind. And when you'd like to respond, the easiest way is to say, I didn't like that. Let's move on to something else. Or thank you for your statement. Let's talk about something else. So the idea is to redirect if there's something that you're not truly comfortable to discuss, but keep it on the I. I don't like that. I would rather not. Let's talk about something else. Something that would be a safe topic, which would engage the other person to feel that they have something in common.
Right, instead of being, hey, that was not okay from you, or you did that to her, right? Okay.
That's correct.
Got it.
Yes.
So then is that also a way, because you don't want to suppress feelings, is that correct? So is that a way to also, you know, kind of express your feelings and not bury that anger, but just it comes out a different way? Or would you say it's important to not bury those feelings?
So the feelings, some feelings of frustration are valid, and some feelings of frustration may not be valid, because sometimes we take offense to other people's opinions as opposed to reflect on the fact that that's just their opinion. So once you identify what you're feeling, it's really important to decipher whether or not you would like to engage in that feeling and respond, or you would rather not to engage in that feeling and not to respond. Is it that important to you to prove a point that your feeling is arousing?
Yeah.
Right, right. Is removing yourself from the situation a viable solution to anger management?
It depends. If you believe that you are being insulted, or you're being offended in a way where it really penetrates you and you cannot tolerate that emotion and it doesn't feel safe, then yes, excusing yourself and exiting is absolutely an option.
So basically a healthier way to express, would you even say expressing that anger is a good way to call it? Or, you know, maybe from what I get from your answer was to just be not as reactive to the feeling. Is that right?
That is correct. I think the thinking and the emotion and creating a filter between the two is really important. So just because we feel something doesn't mean it's logically important to react to it.
I think that makes sense.
So I'm thinking, perhaps, correct me if I'm wrong, anger is the last step of previous things that may be causing these things, like underneath the anger. Would you say that anger is just masking other emotions, or how should we go about getting to the bottom of what is really happening?
Good question. So it's multi-layered. Anger, you're born with it. It creates awareness that something is wrong, correct? Something you don't like. Something is possibly unsafe, something that is threatening you, something that's making you feel uncomfortable or insulted and offended. However, I think it's really important to identify whether you're feeling irritated, nervous, upset, disappointed, enraged. So there's so many layers, and if you're logical about it and you can identify what's causing it and how to possibly respond to it. Because anger, you could be angry because somebody threatened you. Okay, you're angry, but do you want to react similarly? Or you're angry and you'd like to see what the opportunity you can bring to yourself to respond as opposed to react. So there's so many layers in between of feeling angry or feeling furious or enraged. And so I think if you can just take a minute to think it through and not always react to your first initial trigger, it'll give you the opportunity to really present yourself and identify yourself with what emotion or what logical response do I want to execute And is it really necessary? So the emotions that you were inquiring about before, do we need to suppress or do we need to assert? I think if you're asserting in a way which will allow you to feel confident in yourself, and you don't feel the need to prove a specific point, because many points cannot always be proven. The other person may not be open to receiving your point.
I think that makes a lot of sense, yes. Also so that you make sure that moment you're not just lashing out and it represents yourself. I think those were some really great tips and insights. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Kelly Gorski. We really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Now, we are wrapping up our show right now, but be sure to stay tuned for NTD News Today at 12 p.m. Eastern. That's still coming up.
And for around-the-clock news coverage, visit us at ntd.com or download our app.
Also, don't forget to follow us on X at NTD Good Morning. Thank you now so much for watching. I'm Evelyn Lee.
And Don Ma here.
Hi everybody, I'm Kelly Wright, host of America's Hope right here on NTD. Guess what? We've got a special celebration because it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. So coming up on NTD, we're going to be celebrating a joyful Christmas, and you're all invited to watch as we celebrate Christmas in music and song from around the world. Join us on NTD.